Hi, I'm Mark Cook from Twisted Throttle. This is the Hex ezCAN. This is a CAN bus controller. Now what does that do? That's basically an electronic switch or relay assembly that allows you to control your accessories through the electronics on the motorcycle. Now we've done videos on this before. The interesting thing is we get a lot of feedback on, that's a great product, fantastic idea, but how do you install it? So in this video, we're going to walk you through a step-by-step instruction on how to install the Hex ezCAN on an R1200GS. We're going to do it with a typical package of a Denali D4 driving light and a sound bomb horn. Now when we start this installation, we actually begin at the hard parts, as it were. We're going to start at the front of the motorcycle where the D4s will be located on a Denali bike-specific mount, and where we're going to put the sound bomb underneath the steering head, again on another bike-specific mount. We're going to actually wire backward toward the Hex ezCAN, which will be under the tail section. We'll work through that as we go through the video, and it'll make sense as you see it later. So as we said in every other video, when you start these accessory installations, you start at the hard parts, because that's what's going to determine where the wires go eventually. So we started here with the Denali bike-specific mount for the R1200GS. It's actually very straightforward. There's a couple of holes already in the fairing from BMW. Thank you, BMW. We've just dropped a long bolt down through there. We've got a spacer that picks up the slack, and we're just going to tighten it up. Just 2 bolts, and that's all it does. Now, pro tip for you. It's hard to get to the top side of this bolt. What you can do, though, is get a small Allen wrench, use the short side of it, drop it down in there. You may have to pull the plastic back just a little bit, but there's plenty of room to do that. There's no need to come down all the way from the top with a big wrench. So we'll do that. Tighten this guy up. Get that guy. Double check the guy on the other side. So now it's time to actually install the D4. Very simple installation like all of the Denalis. Go right in through here. 1 nut. We'll tighten that down. We're going to put it in the lower position because we don't need any spacing issues. Put it as close to the fender as you want. There's actually plenty of room to make sure that it doesn't drift in. We'll tighten that guy down. And we're going to set the aim pretty much vertical right now. We'll check that on the road once we get everything working. Now, next question is going to be the wiring. I'll get to that in a second because we're going to do something a little bit special with the CAN bus. All right, now more about the wiring. This is the harness that you get with the Denali D4 set. In fact, it's typical of a lot of driving lights. You've got a lot of pieces here. There's a relay, there's a switch set, there's extension cords to go from the relay to the lights themselves. With the Hex ezCAN, you can get rid of everything but basically this. So what we're going to do is a little bit of a modification. Step off to the bench and show you how to do that. But when we come back, we'll show you the cool part about that. We're basically going to run 1 wire from the front of the bike back to where the Hex ezCAN is and pick up the voltage from there. We're going to make our custom harness here. Normally you'd have 2 extension cords, 1 for each light, but we're going to combine them so that we can run the horn on the same ezCAN. And so we're basically going to create ourselves a little Y connector here. We're going to take this hole, we're going to take this one, which is cut from another piece of the harness, we're going to join them with a Positap. There's one. And now we'll hook these guys up. Feed that through and tighten it down. Oh, look at that. That was the wrong one. Let's go red to red. Give it a little tug, make sure it's tight. Okay, that looks good. And that allows us to use the 1 wire to go back from the headlight assembly all the way down the side of the bike right up to the ezCAN. So here's our finished harness. Our next step is going to be connected up to the lights. We're going to bring the wires together in the center right along the mount, and then we're going to head back toward the front shock and then down the right-hand side of the bike. Left hand as we're looking at it, back toward the Hex ezCAN. So when we start the wiring, we're going to actually come to the middle along the bracket here and then head back toward the shock. We're going to go, as we're looking at it, along the left side of the bike. It's actually the right side of the bike as you're riding it. We're going to snake it along just above the cylinder head behind the throttle bodies, pick up the frame tube and sort of head back toward the tail section. Now as you're doing this, you want to be looking for places to tie it down nicely, make sure it's away from the exhaust system, all the usual stuff you want to do when you're doing electrical work. So now that we got part of the wiring from the lights heading back toward the Hex ezCAN controller, makes sense to go ahead and mount the physical horn. We're doing a Denali sound bomb here. It's a compact version. We're also using a Denali bike-specific mount. A couple of things to note here. This mount, there's a short and a long leg. The short leg is what picks up the horn. The longer leg is what actually goes onto the bike. Now, if you look up in the steering head, there's actually a fairing mount. There's 2 bolts. We're going to pull the bottom one out. In fact, I already have done it. This is going to go through here, and it's going to bolt straight up in front of the steering head. It's a perfect fit. It's like it was made to be there. And by the way, to make this a little bit easier, we're offering a horn-only wiring kit that connects between the ezCAN and the sound bomb. Okay, so now we've followed the wires up. We've got them run along the side of the motorcycle up toward the tail section. Next step is to actually install the Hex ezCAN. As you can see, we've got the wires terminated here. We've got some Pause-A-Lock connectors. You can do anything you want here. If you want to solder and shrink wrap, or you can do regular butt connectors, whatever works for you. These are convenient, don't require any tools. Now that we've got these staged, we're going to actually place the ezCAN module itself. Now, we found a really good location right under this little control box, partly because this control box is where we're going to pick up the CAN bus signal. I'm going to pull this connector. There's a mating connector on the exCAN. Connect that in there. And this is the other end of the pass-through. Going to slide right in there. And now the ezCAN's talking to the rest of the motorcycle. Got a couple other sets of wires here. This large one is actually the battery connector. That's going to run down and follow the same route right under the subframe, straight over to the battery, and we'll do that at the end. We'll connect this at the very end. Now that leaves us with these guys. These are our 4 circuits. Okay? The orange and the red, you'll see each one is color-coded. The black is going to be negative. The colored one is positive. These are our 2 high current circuits. These are our 2 low current circuits. Now you can configure how these work and what kind of amperage maximum they have in the software. It'd be a completely different video to walk you through the setup process in the software. But what we've done in this particular case is we're doing the orange circuit. It's going to be our combined Denali D4s up front. The red circuit's going to be our horn. So now that we know that which ones of these, this is our horn, this is going to be our Denali lights. What's left is to take these guys. Now, these particular connectors come with the Hex ezCAN. They're obviously stubbed out to bare wire, and they will mate up with these things. So really, getting close here, kids. We're going to connect this up. So we know this particular one is our Denali. And we're going to do that on the orange. So there's one set of our connectors. We're going to do the same thing to the other circuit. Now, exCAN also provides a couple of blanks. They actually look like one of these without the wires coming out of it, and those are to be plugged into the connector if you're not going to be using it. Good thing to keep it waterproof. And we're really on the home stretch here. The last couple of things to do, we're going to connect it up at the battery. We're going to turn on the bike, make sure all the accessories work as we expect. And if those look good, we're going to button the bike up, put the bodywork back on, and go for a ride. Make sure we're happy with it. So that's the step-by-step process. A lot of pieces to it, but it's actually very straightforward. Take your time, have your tools set up, and it's actually really easy to do. Hex ezCAN works on a lot of the BMWs with the CAN bus system. And that range is expanding, of course. If you want to see the other pieces we have for your BMW R1200GS, come to TwistedThrottle.com.